Welcome back to another Our Walk in Christ live stream. Sorry for the delay in getting started. I was looking for one more reference that I forgot to grab earlier. And today we're going to be talking about climate change because the whole world is going to end, people, and the end is coming and we're all just going to burn up and whatever or freeze. I don't know. Nobody quite knows exactly what's going to happen at the end of the world because if y'all don't remember, cover of Time magazine in the 1970s, another ice age is coming. It is upon us. We're all going to freeze. And then all throughout the 80s and 90s, global warming is going to kill us. And then now we're down to this. Now we're back down to this, they're just calling it climate change because they don't know which way they're going. And I'm here to tell you this is not scientific. This is part of a political power grab of insanity. And unfortunately, Christians are getting caught up in the middle of this, but there is some things that are valid for us to say, and so we're actually going to get in and discuss some of these things today. I'm probably going to repeat that really dramatic entrance here in a moment because I'm going to record this and re-release it because of how long my Bible view was on, just because I was looking for a couple more verses and things. So anyway, how is everybody doing today? I hope y'all are buckled down for the coming apocalypse. I mean, really, mass extinction is on the way apparently, and I mean, man, the end is nigh, people. The end is nigh. We all just need to carry our signs with us. Whatever, hand out our pew Bibles, whatever. Anyway, Crowman says, we're born naked and we'll leave this world with or without our possessions, so really Christians shouldn't care about climate change. Mitchell, how's it going there? Mark, hello. Yeah, I mean, of course, we all should just go out and get our big old V8 Hummers and, maybe bigger ones, just fill them full of gas and just start them every morning, just let them sit in the driveway all day and just burn off. No, we shouldn't be doing that. We are stewards and we need to take a little bit of responsibility, but, we'll see what happens here. Didn't the late Roman Empire experience climate change in the last Renaissance and many other periods of history? I don't know what the weather implications were like in all those different places. That would be an interesting thing to look at, though. One of the things I'm noticing right now, my color seems really weird. Let me change my color corrections around a little bit because, man, my coloration just looks really bad. I could go like super saturated. That would not be good. All right, and it looks like we have just a tinge of the mic up there too, don't we? All right, and let's see, colorations. There we are. There we are. I like that a lot better. That's a lot better. I look like I'm wearing lipstick, though. I promise I'm not wearing any women's accessories. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive on into this, shall we? This will be a doozy. Welcome back to another Our Walk in Christ live show. These are recorded live Fridays. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and restart this because I'm so used to saying the news on my other channel. This is crazy. Welcome back to another Our Walk in Christ live stream. These are recorded Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to come around and watch it live, interact with the comment feeds. Today we're going to be talking about climate change and the Christian. What does the Bible have to say? And this is kind of inspired on, there was a apologetics conference or group or something going on having to do with the RZIM Foundation. That's Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, and they answered several different questions. And one of them was on climate change, and they completely missed the boat on that, and they completely missed the boat on something else. We're going to examine those and then see what the Bible actually has to say about any of this type of topic. So hold down, buckle down, and understand that the end is nigh. The end is nigh. If ever there were a time we need to be out there and preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ and handing out our Bibles, it is now, because the world is going to end, and we're going to learn today that a mass extinction is coming, etc., etc., etc. Wow. Interesting. So let's go ahead and dive on into some of the articles here for the day. So I'm going to start with this one from USA Today. So what happened here is within the last couple weeks, there was this big, climate change school strike, and all of these students were leaving their classes and not going to school and engaging in protests around the world for climate change because the end is nigh. If you watch some of these clips of some of these people, you get a chance to see what our future, the future of our nation, and it's a scary place. But anyway, this is being launched out and pushed forth and mostly being head up by, what's interesting is there's a lot of kind of creepy, scary background stuff that I'm not going to dive into here, but mostly this boils down to this woman here, who is a 16-year-old child from Sweden, I believe, whose parents are involved in acting and in television, which is somewhat significant because this is kind of like an interesting act. And they have told her from a very early age that the world is going to end because we are destroying the environment. And so now she's going around to all of the countries, and my understanding is even filed lawsuits against all of the top polluters except China, the number one polluter. And she had this to say in front of the UN nation. And this is definitely an interesting clip. I'm pulling this one from, looks like Sky News, so hopefully we'll be okay using this, but have a look at this.
I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money.
Okay, so we're going to stop there. There is so much in that, what is that, 30 seconds or less. So she's talking about, first, you can see that this is over dramatized. Now, this child went through serious depression over the fact that the world is going to end because her parents fed it to her. Because of this, she experienced a lot of, she even developed an eating disorder, which is why she still looks like a 12-year-old. She's really 16. And it's very over dramatic. She's talking about like entire ecosystems are collapsing and we're on the beginning of a mass extinction. I'm sorry, I have missed the beginning of the mass extinction. I haven't seen any evidence of a mass extinction, nor have I seen any evidence of entire ecosystems simply collapsing. This is insanity. And just an FYI, guys, back in the 70s, if you find the Time magazine, I forget exactly what year and what month it was, Time magazine, cover of Time magazine, another ice age is coming. Another ice age is coming, people. And then, of course, it all flipped around. Now it's global warming. Now they just call it climate change because I don't know what it's doing. I got a reminder for you guys, particularly you younger people who were not alive. In the 1970s, Lake Erie caught on fire because it was so full of oil and waste and pollution. And the water is completely not flammable anymore because it's in a lot better shape. If you live your entire life isolated inside of a giant city structure and you've never seen a tree in its natural habitat, you seem to think that the whole world is going to be ending. Like the whole world is like a giant city or something. You have never been out west in the United States. You've never been to a forest. You've never had to swat away the mosquitoes. Guys, our planet is so much better shape than it was then. Now, do we have to do our part? Absolutely, we have to do our part too. We don't want to be excessively wasteful, but here is a person who is, of course, she's taking boats, but of course all the support staff is taking airplanes and all these things going around the world. She is just going to all these different places. I have a question for you. What is your electric bill? How much power are you consuming? Are you leaving more lights off? Are you going without air conditioning? Are you utilizing disposable products and just throwing them away? Are you using little bags at the grocery store? There's so many little things that we can do, but it's not nearly as critical as this girl is trying to say. But this is a giant act. And of course, this person is set up because nobody can come through and criticize this person. Because to criticize this person, you're just attacking a child. No, I'm not. I'm attacking the child's message. See, if this were such a critical deal, we'd have a lot of highly credible scientists on the forefront talking about it. But why is it all we're seeing is children and politicians? It's the only people I see talking about this. Children and politicians. And what we see in this climate change strike, if you go through and watch some of the clips of some of these speeches that these young people have been giving, they are literally buying into the talking points of this Green New Deal, which is total and utter nonsense. Complete nonsense. But in the midst of all of this, we had this question come through and was answered by a group put on by RZIM, and this made me scratch my head and question, is RZIM starting to slip into insanity? So this is from the Christian Post. How as Christians can we react to the climate crisis? Interesting. Have a listen to this answer, though, because this answer is quite fascinating. A question brought partly in response to a wave of recent protests demanding action on climate change, the question on a Christian response to the climate action was given by Musha. Musha said, human beings have not been good stewards of the earth, end quote. The assertion that Christians are, quote, are not supposed to see climate crisis as something separate from our faith, end quote. She says, personally, he or she, I think this is a he actually, personally, I can live without my faith in Jesus Christ in the direction of the environment by making adjustments, by showing myself to be a good steward of the environment. This world belongs to God, and he has sent his son, Jesus Christ, to redeem it and create a new humanity. He focused on this world, and he enlists us as Christians, as believers, to do our part to work with him as he fixes it. Total and utter nonsense. This is so theologically wrong, it makes me want to question if I ever want to listen to anything out of RZIM again in the rest of my life. I probably will, by the way. But this will open up a very critical eye. There is nothing about his statement that is valid. Nothing. And we're going to dig into the Bible and find out why. Are we ready? All right, so let's go ahead and have a quick look at this. So he says, humans have not been good stewards of the earth. Is this true or is this false? First, what is a steward? So a steward is a person who is in charge. This is something that we don't have stewards as much in our modern vernacular. This is something we saw a lot more in more like a medieval period of time. The steward is basically the caretaker. You might think of it as a butler in our modern vernacular. For a rich person would have a butler who is basically in charge of handling all of the things. Are we created as stewards? Yes, we are. From Genesis chapter 1, verses 27 to 30, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Oh, Lord, we're male and female too. All right, who would have thunk it? It continues, verse 28. But God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and of the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Then God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding its seed, it shall be food for you. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth, which has life, I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. All right, so God took this human that he created, he put him into the garden, and then when he put him into the garden, we are now given this task of managing it. So yes, we are stewards of the earth. Now, have we been good stewards? There's times we have been better. There's times that we have been worse. Overall, here's the bottom line. In the 70s, there was a lot more issues with pollution than we have now. Cleanup incidences have occurred, and now at least the United States and many other first world nations are a lot cleaner than they were. Except one of the things that has caused a problematic thing is we have allowed excessive consumerism to bust into the world. Now, I actually wrote a book on consumerism, and it was my book, Happy Holidays. This book mostly is focused on holidays, but how consumerism has ruined the holidays specifically. So if you want to see a little bit about that, look at that book, Happy Holidays. But the thing about consumerism that we have all messed up is nearly everything we have now is disposable. Like, I still use an old double-edged straight razor that is completely non-wasteful at all. But are you getting disposable razors you're throwing out around massive chunks of plastic every time? Think about that. Are you using canvas bags, or are you using the plastic bags at the supermarkets? Think about these types of things. But at the same token, we're not here to fix this world. And that's what I want to get into this next part here. And I'm trying to wrap my head around this second part that he says. Personally, this is the speaker saying, personally, I can live out my faith in Jesus Christ in the direction of the environment by making adjustments, by showing myself as a good steward of the environment. Let me tell you something. It is not our task to be a good steward of the environment specifically. It is not a primary task. It is a secondary task. So what does that mean? Well, that means that it's not our requirement to get out there and have the first thing, we got to be environmentalists. No, our task as Christians is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. It is to get out there and save people, especially if the world's going to end in 12 years anyway. Guys, get out there and preach the gospel because the world's going to end. Y'all think we're going to stop it? Okay, and I don't believe for a second the world's going to end in 10 years. That's something they've been saying they've been saying that the world's going to end in 10 years, going back 50, 60, 70, 80 years back. Okay, so with this, if you're focusing your Christian life on being a good steward of the environment, that is an error. And here is why. His final ultimate point here is so completely and utterly and thoroughly and totally wrong and completely non-biblical. By the way, I haven't seen a single verse in any of this. He says, the world belongs to God, and he sent his son Jesus Christ to redeem it. If you think that he came to redeem this ball back here, you're wrong. You're wrong. God came and Christ came to redeem the elect believers out of this perishing world. And when we have come into this perishing world and we are redeemed out of this perishing world, we have a better world going on to us. It says Christ came to redeem it. No, Christ did not come to redeem this world. Christ came to redeem elect souls out of the sinful and fallen world. That's what Christ came to do. It says Christ focused on this world and enlists us as Christians, as believers, to do our part to work with him as he fixes it. Complete and utter balderdash. This guy, if he is on staff at RZIM, needs to be fired for completely perverting the scriptures. Let me prove that to you. This is not difficult. Flip your Bible on back to the very end. I know most people start reading the Bible and never quite get to the very end. But flip your Bible back to the end. And we're going to have a look at 2 Peter. And we're going to look at 2 Peter chapter 3. We're going to pick up in verse 10. We're going to read verses 10 through 13. Are you ready? The day of the Lord will come like a thief, in which the heavens, that means this ball right here, that is the whole thing. This heavens will pass away with a roar. The elements will be destroyed with intense heat, and the earth and its works will be burnt up. Since all these things are to be destroyed in the way, what sort of people ought you be holy in conduct and godliness? Looking for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be destroyed by burning and the elements will melt with intense heat. But according to his promise, we are looking for a new heavens and a new earth in which righteousness dwells. Did Jesus come to save the planet? No. I'm sorry, this is Christianity 101. The earth was reserved for fire. All that we have right here will be burnt away. The elements will be destroyed. Everything will be consumed. Everything that will be remaining is only those souls that are redeemed through the gospel of Jesus Christ. If we think we're going to save the planet, y'all got another thing coming, because God has willed this planet is going to be destroyed. Now, does that mean that we get out and we just do our part? Let's all buy our Hummers and fill them full of gas and just crank on the fuel. No, because we are stewards. It is our task to make the planet last as long as it can, which is why you need to be doing away with disposable products. You need to be using your canvas shopping bags. You need to be turning off your lights. You need to be cutting back your electric bill. You need to be doing things that increase sustainability. But if you want to cast aside times of sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ to focus on saving this ball back here that is reserved for fire, y'all got another thing coming, because you're now kicking against the goads. Because God has determined that this thing is going down. This thing is going down. So that's kind of my message today. Our task is to be holy and upright in this coming world, to get out and preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, to understand the scriptures, to know the depth of sin in our life. That is our task. We need to do our part, yes, but it's only a secondary measure, because our primary measure is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and live a holy and upright life. That is my final thought. That is my final take-home message. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. All right, let's see. Oh, did I scare everybody away? Man, we kind of peaked at 10 and now we're down to 5. I must have scared y'all away. All right. Anyway, greetings. Indeed, she should be in school. Yes, yeah, it was twice as hot in Jesus' time, so I guess we ain't dead, although sometimes I wish we were with our politicians. Good luck unpacking all the hysteria in there. Yep, hold on. I got some staple in my sock. I don't know how that got there. Anyway, blackface is more interesting with Trudeau. Really? U.S. is doing much better. Stats show that. Gonna hop off, enjoy the Packers. All right. Oh, I'm battling against football, huh? All right, that'll do. I have to wear a face mask when I'm in China. When I'm at home in the good old USA, do I have to wear a face mask to protect my lungs from pollution and disease? Nope. Girl should go to China. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Crazy stuff. So for you guys still remaining, y'all want to see the biggest logical fallacy I've ever seen come out of this organization? This is kind of crazy. Have a look at this one. This is a crazy logical fallacy. This will be your bonus video. Y'all that stuck around later. So how to talk to LGBT issues without sounding judgmental. This one was an interesting one. So near the end of the panel segment, one attendee asked how should they talk about their views on LGBT issues to classmates without sounding unloving or judgmental. Jackson responded that it is important to recognize that it was, quote, not biblical, unquote, to consider homosexuality to be, quote, the worst possible thing or, quote, end all be all sin. Let me unpack that. It was important to recognize that it was not biblical to consider homosexuality as the worst possible thing. Okay, is that the worst possible thing? No. I mean, if we're talking about sin, the worst possible sin would be blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, of which there is no forgiveness. All right, where are we going from here, though? Watch this insanity. This is like mental gymnastics, such the like that I've never seen before. All right. When we are engaging these things, I think our humility to recognize that people in that community aren't any worse off in God's eyes than we are allows us to start on really appropriate level. Well, it depends. If a person is walking around living that lifestyle, yes, because God has given them over to that in the light of their sin. Notice that there's really very few Bible verses here. Romans 1 will tell us that. Okay, but a person who's justified before Christ is living out a life in God's commands. If you're living out your life against God's commands versus in God's commands, you will certainly have better circumstances. Okay, she added that dialogue within this community means being open to answering questions and being open primarily to being a loving friend to whoever's in that community. And we should always be able to answer questions and love people in communities. That's no problem with that. Bennett, a Christian who struggles with same-sex attraction, drew a comparison between the LGBT community and the eunuchs mentioned in the Bible, primarily Acts 8 and Isaiah 56. Now, Acts 8 this is the eunuch that Philip meets. Okay, we'll explain why this is a false analogy later. Anyway, I'm giving it away here. In Isaiah 56. So, God is radically inclusive. This is quoting from this panelist now. God is radically inclusive, but also retained the truth. It says that Isaiah 56 verse, to the eunuchs who obey my command and live according to my ways and my Sabbath, I will give this eternal name. It doesn't compromise the truth that God created male and female in the beginning. It's very good. But he does radically include the sexual minorities that are known about in Israel's world, namely the eunuchs. That is the biggest false analogy I have ever seen in my life. This is a huge logical fallacy. So what is a eunuch? Well, a eunuch is a person. Now, some of these people were actually physically mutilated. Some people, the eunuchness was just a voluntary thing. This is what Christ is talking about. Eunuchs. Some eunuchs were made that way by men. Some eunuchs God made that way. Some eunuchs have made themselves that way by their own choice. All right. A eunuch was a person that if they were made that way by men, they were castrated. And the reason they were castrated was it would be a way for a king to protect his reign. If the servant would have access to impregnate the king's wife, then he could usurp his throne. And so they would castrate the eunuchs who were working in the king's closest court so that they could never usurp the throne. This was a position that it came with many benefits to being a eunuch as well. And so that's what's going on here. Is this some sexual minority? No, under no circumstance. And the fact of the matter is what he's trying to do is trying to make an analogy to say LGBT is equal to eunuch. And since eunuch is accepted, therefore LGBT is accepted. And that is patently false. Again, this coming from the RZIM. Now, this particular speaker, I checked into it, and is not an RZIM staffer. This is somebody who is on staff at the college they're at, but still it is at this conference with their discussion. And this is a problematic answer because it is completely wrong. It is problematic. So that is weird. Very interesting. I don't know. So what do you guys think about that one? All right, let's see. Okay, used to be a big sports fan. Now I don't understand why anyone cares. Yeah, I've never understood why anybody cares, personally. Right. Over the next decade, do you think the whole LGBT thing is going to die down or continue to become more of a cultural topic? You know, I don't know. Right now, in the secular statistics, more people are turning away from the LGBT community. And the reason they seems to be because they're like, you know, we don't care if you have gay rights. We don't care if you want to have gay marriage. We don't care if you want to have health benefits. Your average person doesn't care. Okay, even if they completely disagree with the lifestyle, they're not going to sit there and concern themselves with the welfare and the, whether or not a homosexual marriage can get spousal privilege on health insurance. Your average person doesn't give a darn tootin'. They don't care. They're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the problem is that LGBT didn't stop with their rights. Now they wanted to force their lifestyle and everything. They wanted to take over entire cities for months at a time and prance down the street in vileness. And most people are decent humans, whether they're Christians or not. Most people are decent enough humans that they do not want their children exposed to half-naked prancing people in tights, exposing their genitals in public in the name of tolerance. And so as long as the LGBT community keeps on doing that insanity, then they're going to continue their decline. But as long as it stops and says, you know what, you can have your rights, we don't care, then it'll be fine. But if it keeps on going down this pipeline, then I think it is going to get worse. I think they're going to become more marginalized than ever they were. So that's kind of what my thought is. So I think ultimately what's going to happen is they're going to kind of take over. They already are. And the reason is they've taken over Hollywood. Andrew Fletcher said, if I know who writes the ballads, I need not know who writes the laws of a nation. Okay, so if you want a good detailed analysis, I am not amused. This book is extensively researched. Hundreds, actually I think I have 99 bibliographical points in here. But we go through, let me just read a couple excerpts here. So you can get this anywhere you can buy books, ebooks, audiobooks, and ebooks, audiobooks, and print books, depending on what you like. And some of what we're doing. So actually, I think I started out back in the 80s. So let's have a look. We'll go ahead and start in on page 33 here. This is the beginning of chapter 2, where I quote this Andrew Fletcher. If a man were permitted to make all the ballads of a nation, he need not care who make the laws. Some people quote that to Plato. It's actually Andrew Fletcher who said that. So as we venture through our examination of media entertainment, it is important to consider what the artists themselves say about their creations. It seems media's proponents and opponents always cross words, both making specific claims about the entertainment they produce. Truly, what is intended behind a meaning of a song or a movie or a game? Do the artists just create entertainment for entertainment's sake? We cannot rule out some art is constructed to teach or promote a concept of or a lifestyle. Education was the intention behind the after-school HBO presentation, The Truth About Alex, and another program by CBS titled What If I'm Gay? Both of these presentations were produced as after-school specials to entertain, but possibly also to teach kids about homosexuality as merely another lifestyle choice. While our modern culture routinely discusses homosexuality in the 1980s media landscape, generally treated the topic as taboo. Like all social agendas, artists broke into media to influence the audience's mind, which slowly becomes the laws. To that end, the next two chapters will examine how media affects us and to what our modern artists intend to teach the consumers through their art. Whether present or absent from the life of Christ, what the popular artists' influence established, we will determine that they intend to teach us and what lifestyle has resulted from their beliefs. And then I go through the entire section looking at, does media entertainment impact us from the artists themselves? So the reason I bring that up is because as it is infiltrated our media and it infiltrates our laws and our ideas, what's going to happen is it's going to be illegal for a person to stand up and declare homosexuality is a sin. In fact, if I heard correctly, I think California actually passed one such law just recently. I don't have all the details, and I just remember that. So as what will end up happening is it will become more illegal to actually be a true Bible believing and Bible practicing Christian. So what that's going to do is it's going to increase persecution, which is going to decrease the number of people in churches, but it's going to increase the effectiveness of the church, because every time the church has been driven underground by persecution, it grows strong. And that'll be about the time that Christ comes back. That's my thought. 2050, our world is going to have a real old age healthcare problem. Though, take that, global warming. Yep. That's the price of abortion. Yep. Hollywood equals pedo wood. Don't trust them. Bit off topic, but why go along with government marriage licenses? Why can't marriage records just be in the church? I think the reason would be there is, in our secular world, there is spousal benefit. And a person who is not a member of any specific congregation would still need the ability to have a spousal benefit. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. That's just kind of my random thoughts, having not thought about it for a while. But yeah, I don't know. I think what we're going to do, we'll probably go ahead and wrap this up very shortly. Before we do, though, you can come on over to the main website. If you are not already on the mailing list, you can actually sign up on the mailing list over here. This mostly deals with my books, so I will pass out information about the Advanced Reader Program, which there will be an update to that within a week, possibly by the end of the weekend. I have another book about ready to go to the Advanced Reader Program and going out to my editors. Then we're going to get back information and then get the book published very soon. Anybody who goes through the Advanced Reader Program in United States will get a physical printed copy of the book for free. So what you have to do for that is grab the book, and I send it out on an ebook format. Grab the book, send me feedback. You have to send me your feedback back on the book, what things need to be adjusted, any errors that you find. Note that I do send it to you before it's returned back to me from the editors. Send me your comments, send me your feedback, and then in the United States, you'll get that. If you're not in the United States, I'll look at the cost of shipping to where you're at. You'll definitely be able to get the ebook and the audiobook, ebook and audiobook for free when those are available. We'll also have information on new releases and on any promotions coming up as well. So you can go over there. That's ourwalkinchrist.com. Let me just drop that in the chat if anybody still needs that. And the next book that will be coming out is Book 2 in the Kings of All Creation series, as Hezekiah's Prayer. And we just finished up the text of it today and my final pass-through edit before it goes to the editor. So as soon as I get that into the generic ebook format, then we're going to go ahead and get that sent out to everybody. Be aware of that. You can also come over here. You can find the podcasts for the daily walks or the foundation studies. And if you head on over to the book section, so we talked about I Am Not Amused and Happy Holidays. If you head on over to the book section, if you are interested in picking up any of these books, this sidebar here will provide links to you to order the books from everywhere I know they're available. So there might be other places. So if you have your own favorite bookstore you like going to, our books are probably there. I use a global distribution to get these out. But if you are just looking for quick purchase links, you can go ahead and find those over there. And Happy Holidays, of course, is the one on media consumption. So if we load this one up, you can see over here that we have a variety of places. There might actually be more. Sometimes I don't get back and repopulate everything. I sometimes get the links in there before they're out everywhere. So just FYI for that, if you are interested in either of those things. Okay, probably spent a lot of money to license good movies and shows, and licenses expired because they ran out of money. Then they were left with terrible content. Yeah. Oh, okay, PureFlix. Okay. Comment on PureFlix. Ooh, bunch of comments jumped on. All right. Modern Christians groups offer alternative movies and music to what's offered in Hollywood and the music industry. Why is it often mediocre? Older Christian work seems more inspired, more creative. Honestly, I think it's a little. I think it's mediocre because they don't put as much into it, because what ends up happening is if you produce a bad movie in Hollywood that's not supposed to be, that's not supposed to be a bad movie, then nobody likes it. Everyone hates it. They're just like, you know what? May as well go eat worms, if y'all remember that old song. And so with that, I think that's kind of what we get. So, but with the Christian audience, you have this captive audience. You don't have to spend nearly as much in marketing. You can throw something out there and be like, hey, press release to focus on the family, and then you're going to sell millions because everyone's like, it's so Christian. And oftentimes it's some of the most blasphemous stuff you ever see. Now, if you are looking for something, particularly if you have kids and you're looking for something for kids, the old pre-50 Adventures in Odyssey, in my opinion, was the best stuff that has ever come out of the Christian worldview. It is now the more recent ones after volume 50, they should have just stopped the program. It is vomitous after 50. But if you get a chance to listen to the first 50 volumes of Adventures in Odyssey, it is some of the best produced, best written, best designed. Is it perfect? No, of course not. But it is some of the best stuff you will ever hear from the Christian perspective. So if you're looking for something more radio-y program-like, also the same group that does that, also they do, they redid all the Chronicles of Narnia. I think it's called Focus on the Family Radio Theater. They are absolutely the best that I've ever heard in the Christian world. Also, if you get a chance to get down to the Sight and Sound Theater in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, they do some good shows. But other than that, yeah, Christianity has produced some of the most mediocre stuff you'd ever find. I've used PureFlix account. It was good for a while, but then it sucked. I thought it always sucked. I had a church I used to go to, and they're like, oh, we're going to give this out to everybody. And they were basically throwing it out to all these churches and stuff. And I'm like, no, this is a bunch of nonsense. Like, almost every sermon on there was just a bunch of nonsensical garbage and, soft theology. Nobody ever opened the Bible. It was all soft, emotional church growth crap. You had the occasional good sermon in there, but for the most part, yeah. Of course, I look at this, I'm like, I'm not involved in this, so I click not interested, unsubscribe, whatever else, and you get an auto reply with the CEO of the company crying in a GIF. I'm like, what is this unprofessional garbage? This is why people don't want anything to do with this stuff, I don't know. I'm just a bitter old man, I guess, I don't know. Probably spent a lot of money to license good movies and shows. License expired because they ran out of money. We're left with terrible content. Yeah, that's probably the case, yeah. Bach, Mozart, Haydn, Brahms all made the greatest church music back in the day when music was real. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Man, a lot of you guys actually missed the climate change talk. Should we just go back and replay it for everyone? I just replay the whole video. I'll be fake live. It'll be kind of like premiering, right? Anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the night. I'm going to go ahead and edit this down, and I will release just the climate change talk as a separate discussion point. So that will be coming down the pipeline here very soon. Keep an eye out for that, probably in the next hour or so. So if you missed the climate change discussion and you want to watch that, that will be out very, very shortly. So thanks for coming along, everybody, and I hope that you enjoy your daily walk in our Lord.